On Sunday, the Pirates got blanked for the final time and didn't score a run the entire series against the Mariners as George Kirby took on Paul Skenes, and we saw what could have been the best Mariners pitching series of all time. Welcome to the Dom Skeen channel, your one-stop shop for the Mariners storylines on Seattle's minds. And in this one, the Mariners win 1-0 for the second straight game. Two 1-0 victories in a row, two extremely low expected batting average totals, an extremely low offensive output for the beginning of July, where the sun should be shining as hot as it ever will in Seattle, gives more questions than answers for this Mariners ball club. Because although our pitching was excellent, as good as you could ask it to ever be, and maybe the best of all time, which we'll ask that question in a second, but the offense is an open book, and it's being read. Now, getting into this pitching series, right? George Kirby finishes this series off by blanking the Pirates over 6.1 innings, 4 hits allowed, 9 strikeouts, no walks. That 4.22 ERA on the year, I would love to see what it is in June because it's absolutely stellar in June. He was hard hit 8 times in this one, but still, only allows 4 hits, doesn't walk anybody. That's the George Kirby that we're used to seeing. Because he switches up a bunch of different pitches, right? He's a big-time tinkerer. You will see a few hard hits, especially, again, in this offensive environment in the summer. Then going over to Paul Skenes, we got him out of there before he could get a quality start on us. He does go 5 shutout innings, but we get him out after that. Gives up 5 hits and strikes out 10 without walking anybody in those 5 innings. Absolutely one of the top, not just pitchers, but players in the game. I think it's an obvious top 3 or 4 right now from a pitching perspective. You've got Tarek Skubal, number 1, I think clear cut. Zach Wheeler has to be number 2 for me. After that, Crochet and Skenes are the other 2 that I would put in that top tier. And the Pirates, again, it's one pitcher for them who gives up the 1 run. Carmen Mlodzinski left in over 2.2 innings, right? And then in the 6th inning, as his first inning to work, right, he gives up that run. Then the Pirates leave him in, and he's pretty effective after that. He just gives up the 1 run on 2.2 innings, just 2 hits total, 3 strikeouts, no walks. But allowing that homer to Randy, which, by the way, Randy's 6th home run of the week, absolutely on fire. This guy had hit 8 home runs before this week. Now it's at 14. He hadn't hit, I think it had been 1 in the previous quarter of the season, from about mid-May through the end of June. It was about 1 homer for a quarter season. He was on just in that split, that quarter of the season, he was, hits 1 homer. He's on a 4 homer for season trajectory. Then in this week, he hits 6. We said they come in bunches for guys like Randy and him more than anybody else. And, we've been doubling down on that for the last month, is that they'll come in bunches, and now they are. Hopefully they did, and hopefully they still will continue to this week. Moving on, asking the question about the best pitching series of all time. First thing I want to do, take a look at the actual analytics. Paul Skenes, 18 swinging strikes on 78 pitches, absolutely disgusting. 6 swinging strikes on 43 fastballs. This guy just racks them up. 2 on 10 sliders, 20% right there. 4 on 9 sweepers, just comical. 2 on 7 splitters, absolutely just dynamite. And that splitter, I know there's a lot of pitchers that throw great splitters, from Ohtani, a lot of the Japanese ones, even Logan and George, but my gosh, this 90, from 92 really to 94, 95, this splitter that Paul Skenes throws is absolutely insane, just the way that it moves and stuff. You look at has -2, it has like a -2, like -1, average is -0, but it's like it barely moves negative, it barely moves down, and then it gets freaking 14 inches of horizontal break on average, between 13 and 15, 14, just so accurate side to side with that splitter for Paul Skenes. So I think it's one of the top 5 splitter in the league. I'd have to go through and look at every one, but and then 89.3 average exit velocity allowed by Paul Skenes. Just 5 innings of work, but 18 swinging strikes on 78 pitches. That's what you get with him. 3 on 6 changeups and 1 on 3 curveballs. So anytime you want to see what the top end of swinging strikes looks like, and you're like, gosh, Is there anybody who can just get like almost, a quarter or, a third swinging strikes, something like that? These Paul Skenes did it. He had a quarter of his pitches were swinging strikes, meaning swing and a miss on a quarter of the pitches. That is more than you will ever see. Also, the distribution on, just every single pitch, he's racking them up, not throwing any of them too much, able to come out and just pump the Mariners with four-seam fastballs, then mix the secondaries up to his pleasure. Mlodzinski gets 7 swinging strikes as well on us on 45 pitches. So we were really whiffing today, especially on all these breaking balls. He got 3 on 13 changeups, 3 on 8 sliders. We are really struggling with those changeups and sliders right now. Kirby gets 19 on 93. 19 swinging strikes is absolutely phenomenal on 93 pitches. 7 on 31 sliders, which was his main pitch. It's interesting. This was one of the first times we've seen a Mariners pitcher take the game plan that everybody's using against us and do it to the other team. Another struggling offense. He gets 7 swinging strikes on 31 sliders as his primary pitch. They're waiting on the fastball. They don't get too many of them. 7 swinging strikes on 27 four-seam fastballs. They get, enough. But for Kirby to throw the slider that much, being the control guy he is just crazy. And 0 on 20 sinkers. That pitch for George isn't amazing right now, but everything else is. 2 on 8 splitters. That is a money pitch for George. Does get hit hard occasionally. 3 on 6 knuckle curves. That could be the key pitch for him this year because it looks like it might be his best swing and miss pitch. And then just threw 1 changeup. Really, really good night for Kirby. And the main thing, not just the stats were excellent on the surface, but he looks like himself again. This is what you expect from George Kirby. This is who you would describe him as a year ago, and he's gotten back to that profile. Vargas comes in, throws 12 pitches, gets weak contact. Gabe Spire comes in, gets a 33% swinging strike rate, 5 on 15, 3 on 10 fastballs, 1 on 4 sinkers, and throws 1 slider and gets 1 on it. So Gabe Spire, elite swing and miss lefty option out of the pen. He is our contract killer, absolute mercenary. You go in and you get the guy that we tell you to get. Then Munoz gets 2 on 14, shutting him down. Gets a few pieces of weak contact as well. But is this the best Mariners pitching series ever? So the answer is not super sexy. Really, the truth is, you're going against one of the bottom offenses in the league, and that's why you had such a good pitching series. If you were going to pick the best pitching series of all time for the Mariners, you'd want to pick one where they really held the line on a good offense, probably more than you'd want to pick one where they just, feasted on a terrible offense. But it is a debate, and they did something that has never been done before. The Mariners have never blanked a team 3 games in a row, or we've never had 3 shutouts in a row at all, let alone in one series. So absolutely phenomenal from the Mariners for pitching, and just that is our identity as a team. So the fact that we can even ask these questions means we're doing something right. But then you move over to the lineup, and I left the Cal for AL MVP banner up here for a simple reason. It's that we usually only leave it up there when he has a great offensive day. He goes 0 for 3, strikes out once in this game. Batting average now at 268, OPS at 1,021, still right up there in the MVP conversation. But when you're going to have the best pitching series of all time, got to give credit to the catcher. And this is where he makes up, the 70 points of batting average that Aaron Judge has above him, in terms of being neck and neck in the MVP race, is that he's got all this defense. Platinum glove at the most important position. Cal Raleigh deserves some credit here for catching some of the best pitching performances of all time by the Mariners. And we haven't talked about it enough because he's hitting home runs every day, and it's not like we're going to go and analyze him framing pitches or his mound visits over analyzing his home runs. Although maybe I should. That sounds like a great idea. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. But we got to give him credit. He played a hell of a backstop this series, and you just got to give him more credit for that. Because, Platinum Glove last year, this year, it's been all about the offense, but he hasn't gotten worse defensively, quite the opposite. That's pretty much going to do it for recapping this game. But also yesterday, we had the All-Star teams fully announced. And the Mariners, although we'd expected, and I guess the consensus is, 3 locks for the team, essentially. Obviously, Cal starting, then Munoz, I mean, one of the best relievers in the MLB, one of the best closers, has to be up there, especially the way that Devin Williams, Emmanuel Clase have struggled. It's not even a conversation that Munoz is the guy who should be in there for the 9th inning on the mound if the AL has a chance to close this game out. Then we knew that Brian Wu would get in because he has been nothing if not a top 12 pitcher in the MLB this year. I challenge you to find me 12 pitchers better than Brian Wu. If you can put in the comments 12 pitchers that you believe are better than Brian Wu and make a good case, shoot, I am happy to give you a Mariners magnetic schedule. I have a few extras for this year. Still got a lot of months on this calendar, so, I love these. I put them on my fridge. I don't need to advertise this to you, though. But I'm just saying, I will give you something. If you make a case to me that there are 12 pitchers in the MLB better than Brian Wu right now, the combination of the way that he limits hard contact and gets swing and miss, with such a unique arsenal is absolutely, beyond most pitching analysts and obviously scouting departments. And, he is an absolute anomaly in the scouting department, just like Cal Raleigh. So those 3 we knew were going to make it, but Julio also made it, to the dismay of our division rival fans. I was talking to an Angels fan today who said that all 3 Angels outfielders should have made it over Julio. And I proceeded to look this up because I was like, actually, that's interesting because, you say all 3 should make the All-Star team over Julio. I'm like, yeah, they all have more homers. All of the stats are pretty similar, right? But when you look at it, Julio's WAR is always incredible considering, what a lot would consider to be lackluster stats for him. And I have to imagine that's why he got in. Because you look at the Fangraphs WAR, which doesn't include defense, Joe Adell, 1.4, Mike Trout, 0.8, Taylor Ward, 1.8, Julio, 2.4. So he's 0.6 higher than Ward, who's the highest. He's much higher than all of them in Fangraphs WAR, which doesn't include defense. Then now for the Baseball Reference B WAR, with the defense added, Ward 1.5, Adell 1.2, Trout 0.6, Julio 3.4. If you add all 3 Angels WARs up, all their Baseball Reference WAR, you get 3.3. Julio has a 3.4 WAR by himself. So all 3 of them can't even add up to his Baseball Reference WAR combined, despite all having more homers and almost a similar batting average to him. Now, a lot of people will say that WAR isn't, WAR is a terrible stat, things like that. And, everybody can, feel that way. But it's actually funny how many mistakes Julio can make on the diamond if you're actually watching the games and still be technically better than these other kind of, middling to above average athletes and prospects that, haven't panned out to be all-stars before. I think Taylor Ward might have. Obviously, Mike Trout is just old, and that's another tumultuous situation. But, when you're comparing Joe Adell and Taylor Ward is probably the one who really should, you'd want to argue for. He hits the ball harder and is faster than anyone. And I said this is the reason I wouldn't move him down in the order, is that he hits the ball harder and runs faster than anybody. And those 2 athletic feats are the most important things for predicting success of a baseball player over time. You can analyze, who's, how players carry themselves, their actual skill, but Julio is better than these players simply because of his athleticism and his tools. And that's why his WAR is better, despite he doesn't necessarily have better plate discipline than Taylor Ward. Joe Adell is a whole nother story. It's hard to say that anybody is worse than him. But Julio, despite maybe you watch the games, you see more skill out of Taylor Ward, or even, out of a hot Joe Adell, an old Mike Trout. Despite not having that same level of skill, maybe, Julio has way more tools. And so it's much harder to get out of them. But the juice is worth the squeeze. And you look at the batting average, you look at a low home run total at this point in the year. You've seen those 2 things happen before, and he's still come back to finish top 10 in MVP voting his first 2 years in the league. So I'm very, very optimistic about Julio's rest of season. We've seen what's happened before. And now we send the Pirates off to go play the Royals team that we just frustratingly split the series with earlier last week, as they came out with the exact blueprint you want against us. Seth Lugo throw 9 different pitches of all types of junk balls, and then Lorenzen did a similar approach. Anyway, I think that's going to do it here, but let me know in the comments what you guys think. Should Julio have been an all-star? That's going to be our question. Also, if you want to try to make the case that there's 12 better starting pitchers in the MLB than Brian Wu, I stand by my word. I will give you a magnetic schedule from the 2025 season. Don't know where else you're going to be able to get this. Anyway, that's going to do it. From the Dom Skiing channel, it is me, your host. I will be back again tomorrow after the game to recap the first of our 3 games set in the Bronx against the Yankees. Will Warren on the mound, a pitcher who I'm very high on. One of my favorite kind of non-Mariners to watch this year. I think he's going to be a real tough test for this offense. He has some great breaking balls, and he has a really good mid-90s fastball. So I think it could go really poorly, a hot day in Yankee Stadium, or it could go really, really well for Will Warren against the Mariners. But I'm very eager for this game tomorrow. Anyway, I guess that finally will do it. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Go Ends.